Shout out to when Anakin thought he found a father figure in Qui-Gon, and then he takes the only fatal stab through the gut in Star Wars.
Oh my god, he does.
Yeah, I'm actually blanking on who else gets stabbed through the gut and doesn't, and dies. Because I think that's the rolling joke right now because of everything that Maul went through, and then what the Grand Inquisitor went through in Kenobi. I also loved the fact that was that at the end of episode 3? No, I think maybe at the end of episode 4 when Reva turns on Vader and then obviously just gets beat the shit out of. That was one of the most impressive displays of strength I've ever seen Darth Vader do, just because of the fact that he was fighting without a lightsaber for most of it.
I have a theory on that. Go ahead.
But after Reva gets stabbed in the gut again, second time, that is insult to injury right there, is what Darth Vader. But I love the camera angle, how it's from Reva's position on the floor, and then you just see the Grand Inquisitor walk into the frame yeah, bitch. You think that was gonna work?
Our will to live. I loved all the memes of what happened to the Grand Inquisitor. It says, "It seems in my rage, I killed him," and then the meme is, "Oh, don't worry, I've been there." I was like, "Oh, that's great." So, oh, stop it. So one of the things that I actually super loved.
Good to go, sir.
And we're going to form up.
Form up. Forming up, boss.
On me. We need to find this. Where's the back to tank? It's gotta be back one more. So the opening sequence of Kenobi, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see the younglings training in what appears to be Tai Chi and or another form of Wushu or Kung Fu, right?
Yeah.
Now, there are several types of Kung Fu. The most famous one is... Oh, God. I lost the name.
Happens when you're streaming.
Just like that, it escaped me. That is terrible. But the most famous one is Wing Chun, which is the defensive one, and it looks kind of like that's what they're using, right? When they're doing that fighting.
Which would make sense for a Jedi.
Yes. Now, the second most famous is the one that was created by Bruce Lee called Jeet-Kune-Do, which is take only what matters, cut out all the fat, cut out all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're watching Vader fight and you think about this, he is incredibly minimalistic because, one, he doesn't have the full range of motion. He's lost some of that.
I wonder why.
In his suit and everything else. But you watch him fight effectively, and all he does is make the most minimal movements to, push Reva around and, force her back, what have you. So one of the things that my theory is that, it's supposed to show his newer style of fighting based more on Jeet-Kune-Do, where it's get around. Because when you watch the Bruce Lee things, he's fighting somebody.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "Here, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to check you on your right side, and that's where my punch is going to land." And he would tell the guy, he'd be like, "How long have you been practicing karate?" He goes, "Oh, you've been doing it as long as I've been alive. I've only been doing this for 5 years." And Bruce Lee, incredible asshole, gets called out for it. But that was my thing, was oh, this is him creating a more efficient fight style because now he has to. And I also think that when they're doing the lightsaber battle to show back and forth between Kenobi and Anakin, it's definitely modeled off of the movie The Mask of Zorro, where it's as you get better, your circle increases and you get more and more space. Fuck! Every goddamn time! It knew I was... The game's hey, we know that you need,
that
ammo.
was hilarious.
We know that you need ammo.
Oh, man. Getting just hardcore trolled. First of all, great eye on that. seeing Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker again made me cry a little bit. I know it was only a flashback and got very little of it, but I still enjoyed it.
And the fact that it was like Padawan Anakin,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, because when I saw that, I was like,
I was hoping we get his like luxurious hair back, like closer to Revenge of the Sith.
I was so surprised when they went for, like, nope, this is now, you know, this is Padawan Anakin because this is who would have the most time to like learn.
Let's set a trap there.
Good idea, sir.
Let's take them down from here, Delta.
Moving into position. Charge ready. This should be good.
And see, I was hoping.
Eliminated.
I was really hoping to see just more of Anakin in general. I was hoping we'd get more flashbacks of maybe content that we haven't saw. I really appreciate the recap they did at the beginning of Kenobi. Just, you know, rehashing all the pain and suffering that Obi-Wan had gone through.
I was actually incredibly, because like when they went through
Delta, form up.
What had happened so far, like the recap.
yeah, I was like, oh,
They cut it so well.
and they did, I thought, such a great job of, oh, what the hell is this?
I'm tapped out. Good shot, sir.
Nice shot.
Last shot too.
Eliminate target.
Perfect shot.
You know, that actually reminded me of something else. I think I know what Bad Batch is leading toward. And
Retreating back.
I feel like it's gonna have its roots in a Legends story. I think it's not gonna be on Camino, of course, anymore because, you know, it's Poca Cities
Yeah,
gone.
Camino has
R.I.P.
been destroyed.
Um,
And I like how they're like, hey, here's your end of the start of the Clone Wars. Like,
I mean,
we can't have
Camino
more.
itself hasn't been destroyed, but you know, like the cloning facilities, sure, but at least the planet itself is chilling. It's just one giant ball of
water.
Yeah, but no, I think, you know, there was an old story I remember reading back in the day about how there was actually a clone rebellion on Camino that the Empire had to go and put down. Is that like I'm not sure if it was Kaminoans that did it, but it described like a rival breeding an army to try to take on the Empire. And so, you know, they had to return to Camino to put down that rebellion. And then that's when they destroyed the place. That's how it went down in Legends anyway. And I always thought that was one of the coolest cities, or one of the coolest stories, because I'd always wondered what happened to the clones between 3 and 4, you know, which is what that's what the Bad Batch is answering, more or less. Because it made no sense that the Empire would go away from clones, because God, they're so much better than stormtroopers.
Oh, they are. Like, that is.
Like, you took a real big quality hit right there. Like, I know that the TKs are being trained by clone commandos, but they're not bred for it. You know, at the end of the day, they're just people.
Well, and that was supposed to be the thing, was that they go to. I think they did that in Bad Batch. Is like, no, their loyalty. They're not bred for it. They choose to be loyal to us, and that's what's going to truly matter.
You know, there's something else I learned recently. I think I was listening to Star Wars Explained podcast. And in one of the comics, it's covered in like the early days of the Clone Wars, is that Palpatine made a huge push, like a huge request to the Jedi Council to start knighting more Padawans, kind of like skipping the process a little bit, because they needed more generals in the war. And I thought that was brilliant on Palpatine's part, just because you have, like, it works into the grand plan. Not only are you rushing in Padawans who aren't ready, like Kit Fisto's Padawan, I'm blanking on his name.
Yes.
The Mon Calamari
Yeah.
guy who gets absolutely owned by Grievous. You had a lot of Padawans like that who just weren't honestly ready for the toils of knighthood. But then you also were getting more Jedi around the clones. Like that is one of the things that really showcases Palps' brilliance, orchestrating that entire conflict. They're like, yeah, like Master Jedi, like we need more Jedi out there to defend the Republic. And totally not for Order 66, which you'll find out about in a couple of years, and we'll wipe out your order.
And that being like its own argument, I could see that being what they try to go for. Is like, yep.
Nice one, leader. I'll 40. I'll be right back. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of the Jedi toward the prequels at all. They're arrogant. They don't serve the will of the Force. They just serve the Senate. Like, Palpatine's not wrong. And Anakin's not really wrong. It's like the Jedi served their own hubris at that point. They were way too arrogant.
Oh god, yeah.
And they did not serve the galaxy well. Not at all. Not like the Jedi before had. But, you have all these really cool concepts. I mean, you could go back to the Old Republic and talk about the Old Republic's Jedi as well. But the High Republic, they would have, like, way seekers, which would just follow the will of the Force, essentially, throughout the galaxy. And you don't see that in the by the time of the prequels. You don't see, all this really enlightened. There's a starfighter that the Jedi used in the High Republic era. It's called a Vector, and you could control it with the Force, right? And in order to unlock the weapon systems, you had to insert your lightsaber and unlock it. That was so. There were so many barriers between, using lethal force. Like, you really had to think hard if you wanted to take a life, because, honestly, like, that's the Jedi's goal to follow the light side of the Force to protect a life, and that's why, you should be cutting down things like a certain Anakin Skywalker.
Have you seen the like, hey, it does a good job at like poking fun holes in it, where it's like Anakin and Qui-Gon on Mustafar, and Qui-Gon gets shot, like Anakin just pulls out a gun and shoots him.
Oh, you mean Obi-Wan?
And
yes!
himself.
Oh my god!
He goes, what? He's like, oh, we've always had this ability. He's like, what? Can you just like? He's like, no, why? You killed younglings. He's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, he pulls out like didn't he pull out like a deagle or something?
Just like clips him. I'm like, oh, it's great. Mrs. Quinn, I've been sending that one back and forth. But
oh god, I think I may have sent you this. There's a guy doing like really weird animations on YouTube right now, and it's like after Kylo and Rey, like Rey uses Force healing, and it's Obi-Wan and Anakin's Force Ghost, and Anakin's like, Master, did you know that they could do that? And Obi-Wan's like, I know I didn't. And Anakin's like, well, that could have maybe saved a few things in the past. and Obi-Wan's like, yeah, I suppose it could have. And it's, oh, dude, it's hilarious.
I would like you to back it. Thank you. Can I get somebody here?
Also, loved seeing Qui-Gon at the end of Obi-Wan.
Like I said, the only thing I think that could have been done better there.
I wanted more.
Would have been Qui-Gon, it cutting to black and being like, okay, Qui-Gon's here, but we don't see him until after the credits. I wanted that to be a post-credit scene.
I wanted it to be a post-credit scene too. Yeah. Because I was really sitting, I was almost watching the clock during that finale. I was like, we need to see Qui-Gon, we need to see Qui-Gon. And we were just winding down. And I was like, are we really not going to get Qui-Gon at the end of this? Like, they had me doubting it because of just how close we were to the credits at that point. I was like, there's no way they're going to fit Qui-Gon. Like,